Hello, and welcome to a brand new Ancient Cities Let's Play with a brand new Ancient Cities Let's Player, Bart the Builder. I love this game, and I love city builders, but what I love about this game in particular is the attention to detail in the maps. There is an incredible accuracy when it comes to locations, how they look in modern times versus how they looked 10,000 years ago during the dawn of man, which is where we begin this series. So we're going to be playing in a city that does not yet exist on this beautiful coast, which, if we zoom out, you can see is in southern France. This is the south coast of France. It's one of the southernmost points available in this game, and this is the modern day city of Marseille, which is actually the oldest city in France, the oldest continuously inhabited city in France. It was founded before 0 BC, or 0 AD, or I guess it's just 0. Founded in 600 BC, actually, by the Greeks. So it's the oldest city in France, and since France is available right now in this early version of the game, I figured it would be cool to start a Let's Play series in an area that already has a history of settlement before the modern age. So these maps are so accurate that if you look at a map of ancient Marseille, which then by the Greeks was called, I think, Masala or Masali, it's very, very accurate. The shoreline here, the harbor, the inlets, the headlands, the capes here, all of it is quite close to the actual landscape back then. But there's one big difference here, which is that in modern times, and even when the Greeks settled this area, there was actually a big river over here, somewhere over here, a big river over here, and the city of Marseille was actually a peninsula that was mostly surrounded by water. But back here in the year 5694 BC, which is when we're starting, there was no river here. There was no peninsula. It was just a big open landscape. And so if we advanced further ahead and came back to this landscape, we would notice that there was a lot more water here as we get close to 0 than there is currently. But as we stand right now in 5694 BC, we just have this shoreline, and you can see the very beginnings of an inlet forming over here. You can see where the land is getting deeper and muddier, and eventually this is all going to be filled in with water, and this whole area here will be the edge of another shoreline. So I think that's super cool that the developers of this game have clearly spent a lot of time getting attention to detail on maps, which is something that I often criticize in city builders. I find that there is not enough attention to landscaping in a realistic way. Dawn of Man, for example. I really love Dawn of Man, but the maps are not great. They're not really historically accurate. It's mostly flat land, and we know, especially back in the prehistoric time, there were a lot more hills, a lot more topographical imbalances as the glaciers were receding. And this game, I think, captures that accuracy much better. So I really love the maps in this game, and I think the devs have done a great job with that. And so I figured it would be cool to start a game in a city that actually was founded in prehistoric or ancient times, since we are playing ancient cities. And here's our little tribe of people. We've just migrated to this coastal area of Marseille. We didn't start here. This isn't a fresh game. It's the first episode of the live stream, but I've been playing this game for about a week. And we started over here, this area. This was a good area. Lots of hunting space. There was a river. We could get reeds. We could fish. We could hunt. And we learned a lot about the mechanics of the game while we were here. We stayed here for almost 5,000 years. We started in 10,000 BC. And we moved here and just plopped, and we didn't have to really move until recently, when all of the animals started dying. All of them. All the deer and the pigs and the rats even. We were down to hunting dogs and rats, and even they were disappearing. So I guess that's just what happens when you're a Mesolithic hunter-gatherer society. You eventually do have to move on. But we were able to last a lot longer than I expected here. And I figured it would be cool to move down here, move to the coast, where a lot of these other tribes have eventually migrated to. So clearly it's a lucrative spot. And start a new settlement, and hopefully, I think we're almost ready to advance to the Neolithic age and start farming, which I'm really excited to test out. I have not played a Neolithic game yet, but I think we're almost there. And so we're starting a fresh game, and I wanted to get a few resources under my belt. So we're starting with a bit more resources than what the initial starting game would give you. A lot more tools, a lot more fine sticks. We got up to flint spears, which is a really good tool to have. So we got a lot of those, a lot of bone knives, which are a new tool available in the game with the most recent update. Some flint bifaces, some stone axes, lots of good tools. We got lots of hazelnuts to help us cope with rebuilding and migrating, and some hay, some straw, which is going to be helpful because we just recently unlocked the ability to make straw huts, and so we're going to be building a lot of those. And hopefully there will just be a lot more game in this area. And of course we have the coast, so we can fish. And one great thing about the coast, which I didn't have on the river, is that we can get clams, which are a very easy source of food, and the people seem to like them. They help with happiness, and I think that our people will like having clams. I don't think we're going to have hazelnuts out here, and hazelnuts were kind of the staple of our tribe for the past 5,000 years. So we're going to be switching from hazelnuts to clams, and I guess we should get right into it. So we're going to be moving down this way a little bit. The actual borders of Greek Marseille started around here, right by this island here, in this little promontory right here. So this will be the western edge of the settlement, or northern edge of the settlement, I should say. And then the settlement ran all the way along the coast here, down to this little area, which in the modern times, this whole area here is filled in with water. This is a little bay all the way up to here. And you can see where the land is flattened, and it's almost ready to be flooded. But at this point in 5694 BC, it has not flooded yet. But this will be the southern limit of our city. So we're going to be filling in a pretty big expanse of land all the way along here. and we're going to see how far we can get. Hopefully, right up to the modern or the late ancient period, when the Romans came and took Marseille from the Greeks, and then it became Massalia, I think it was. And Marseille was quite an important city back then, and it's still an important city right through history. And I think it's just going to be really cool to build on this land, knowing that there was an ancient city here. And I've looked at some layouts of the city, and we're going to try to replicate or stick to the layout as much as we can, but obviously we're going to make changes. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. So let's get started. So we're going to have to plop down some houses. Very, very important. The straw huts seem to be the best bang for buck. They take a lot of straw, a lot of rope, which we don't currently have. There was not a lot of plant fiber in my last settlement, unfortunately. Hopefully there's a lot of plant fiber here, because that rope is essential to building huts in this area. So we'll plop down some houses. Where is my tribe right now? They're over here. I think we'll start closer to the coast, because we want to have access to those clams, which are going to just make life a lot easier for us in the early days. And yeah, we'll start right here, I guess. So 1, 2, 3. How do you rotate? Oh, right. Rotate is hold down the Alt button. The controls seem to be pretty standard if you're used to playing games like Dawn of Man and Banished, Life is Feudal, Foundation. They all kind of keep to the same controls. I find, I don't know if it's my system or the game itself, but I find it's a bit wonky, laggy. It is still, I think, an early access game, so hopefully those things will improve. I know there were a lot of complaints about this game in the early days, when it was very, very, very early access and there was not a lot of content, but I think that's in the past now. There seems to be a lot of stuff to build. There's a lot of interesting mechanics. They've got other tribes. You can see there are lots of tribes here, and if you click on the tribe, you can see what they have in demand, which this tribe needs raw hides. And they have a lot of bone harpoons, which you can either trade the raw hide for the bone harpoon, or you can send a raiding party to raid this tribe and take their resources. And I've been playing around with the raiding feature and the trading feature, and with the raiding feature I have not lost a single tribe member to any of my raids. So I am playing this on beginner difficulty, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I usually send 5 to 10 of my tribes people out, and some of them will come back wounded or sick, but none of them have died. None of them have died from wounds or anything like that, and they usually come back with a lot of stuff. A lot of these tools came from raids. The stone sickles, we're down to I think 2 stone sickles now, but those were the product of a raid. We still haven't unlocked the stone sickle technology, so we can't craft them ourselves, but we can raid from tribes that have acquired that technology, and that's turning out to work quite nicely for the tribe. So So yeah, I think the mechanics are really advancing, and with the raiding and trading features, I think I think there's a lot of interesting options in this game that even games like Dawn of Man and some of the other city builder games cannot provide. So I have high hopes for this game. I think that the devs are doing a good job. I know it's an expensive game, but I think in the end it'll be worth it. And just for the maps alone, for the attention to detail on the landscapes and the coastlines and the rivers, I think that they deserve high praise because it really is a good looking game. And I haven't had any bugs or crashes or anything like that, and I've been playing for about a week, so hopefully that keeps up. But yes, let's get on with this. So it's going to take a while to build the huts. So what we're going to need to do before that is build some... How do I get out of this thing? There we go. Build some fireplaces because our people are going to be very unhappy. If you look over here, you can see... Oh, right now, our people are mostly happy. So that's good. But that's going to change. As soon as I take this off pause, that's going to change very quickly. Because then they're going to realize that they have no housing. But we did migrate in the summer, which I think was smart, so it's warm. And we are migrating south to the beautiful French Riviera. So I don't think my people are going to mind sleeping out on the grass of Marseille, or Marseille. I don't know how they say it, Marseille or Marseille. But yes, let's build some fireplaces. Fireplaces are good because the people can sleep around them, and it gives them a slight comfort bonus. It's still a net negative comfort bonus. They're still going to be perturbed about having to sleep around a fireplace, but it's definitely a lot better than sleeping without a fireplace. And they're faster to build. So we're going to plop a few of these down, a few large ones, and or maybe one large one and a couple of small ones. Yeah. Or a few small ones. So we'll just put that there. And we'll do this and this. We're probably going to tear most of this stuff down as we develop further, but just to get started, I think that'll be good. What else do we have here? We just had a wave of migration. So the fastest way to get new knowledge and new technology in this game is to accept migrants. And if you accept migrants, oftentimes the migrants will come with knowledge that you did not have before. So just before we started migrating, we got the knowledge for these feeders, which are good for animal husbandry, which we have not unlocked yet in this game with this tribe. And also a hay feeder, which is also good for livestock. And I think there was something else. Threshers. Threshers used to thresh crops, separating the edible part of grain from the straw. So we just got some stone sickles, and we have some some bone axes and flint bifaces, which can all be used to cut plants. And so we're going to be hopefully in this new landscape getting a lot of plants and grains, which will allow us to use these threshers to hopefully get into farming relatively quickly. I'm hoping that we're just on the cusp of unlocking the Neolithic culture and moving into farming, because especially in this area there is not going to be a ton of animals to hunt, and they are going to run out eventually, and I do not want to migrate away from this area because I want to stick to this area right up to 0, right up to the modern era. And so I'm hoping that we'll get farming so that when the animals run out, we can pivot to farming and continue to grow our population, and it'll be a lot more like the economy of the ancient city of Marseille, which I want to try to strive for accuracy as much as I can with this Let's Play. So yes, we'll plop a couple of Pelt Tanners down because we are going to be building mostly hay huts, but we're going to want to have some pelt tents as well. And so getting the Pelt Tanners up right away will be good, so that we can encourage our citizens to hunt and bring back pelts and build tents. And that will be good. We're also going to need them to focus on getting a massive amount of hay, because each of one of these hay huts takes, or straw huts, takes 100 straw, and we have less than that already in our stocks. There wasn't a lot of straw in the old settlement either, so let's make sure that we're promoting straw. So you can see here the work groups. For those who are new to the game, I've organized all of these work groups. Fishers, normally I had like 7 people on this, but in the final days of the old settlement, I was encouraging everyone to get as many nuts and sticks as possible, because I knew that they would be very important in the new world. So I downed the fish, but we're going to get the fishermen up to, I'm going to do 5 right now because I don't want it to be too high. I want my people to be out getting straw and sticks and materials that we need for all of the essential building that has to happen right away. Rock, we obviously did not carry rock on our migration, so we have to regather lots of rocks. And plant fiber. Plant fiber is going to be the most important thing. So we're going to actually, I originally created this for sticks and stones. That's why I called it S&S, the S&S crew. But I've been adding straw here when I need it. When I need my people to focus on getting something very quickly, I add them to this group because it's always set to high priority, highest, because sticks are so important for building and also for fire. So so this is a very important work group, and so I added straw, and I will also add stone and plant fiber, because those things are going to be very important in the early days. We have lots of bone, that's good. We can make tools out of bone. And we're also going to encourage as much hunting as we can, because we need pelts for our tents. And you can choose which animals you want to hunt. So this is all of them. We currently have boars, deer, rabbits, goats, horses, sheep or mouflon, rats, cows or oxes, and doggies. I don't think you can domesticate doggies yet, but I'm sure that the developers are working on that. Dawn of Man, I loved the domestication feature with Dawn of Man. You could domesticate dogs, and they were great defenders too of your tribe. So I think we will not hunt doggies because we love them, and we will hunt rats because even though we don't get a lot of yield from hunting rats, rats will eat your food stores, and we don't want that, so we will hunt them anyway, just so that they do not hunt us. And we'll set that to high priority. It is, and we have 6 people there. We'll put that on 5, because again, we want everybody getting sticks and straw and other such things. Nuts, I don't think nuts is going to be a big thing for us here, so we're going to lower the nuts crew. See, nuts is just a gathering group, and I have a bunch of gathering groups. I have a gathering group for sticks and stones. I have a gathering group for non-food materials, plant fibers, reeds, mud, bones, straw, pelts, logs, various things. So I have one resource group for them, and I'm going to lower the priority of these guys because it's not as important as the other groups. And then I have foragers, which is just a gathering group that I've renamed to foragers, and these guys are focused on food. So I think it's good to organize your gathering groups like that, because that way you can very quickly, if you notice that your food is going down, you can very quickly change the priority on the foragers group so that you're getting lots and lots of food in. Since we have a pretty good stock of hazelnuts, I'm not going to put the priority up on this one. I will put it up on hunters because we need the pelts, not necessarily the meat, but the pelts. I'm going to lower the priority of the fishermen as well. Oh, and I think I should add to the foraging crew clams. Yeah, and we'll add the nuts to this crew too, and then we'll just delete the nuts group because I don't think nuts are going to be big. We don't have a lot of forest in Marseille. So yeah, I think that's good. And Craftsman, not important, so we'll lower the priority of Craftsman as well. And I think that's good. Let's check our policies. We don't have a lot of control over our increasing the labor age, unfortunately, because we do have a lot of older people. About a third of our population is elderly, and we cannot make them work, because if it's red, then that means your chief, which is Sunni, yeah, see, he's a member of the 70 plus crew, and so he's decided that older people do not have to work, and this is not something that you can control, nor can you control the labor time. We can turn it down, but we cannot turn it up. So the people are they're putting their foot down on some things, and this happens in a tribe. You can adjust the degree to which your people will focus on work group tasks, so their main job versus communal jobs, which are things like building and moving resources from one storage area to another, maintaining fireplaces, things like that. So we're going to have them on a balance because we want them building, but we also want them out in the open getting straw and mud and other things for building. So we'll leave it at balanced. Our culture, ooh. See, before our culture was all Mesolithic, and now we have a little bit of Neolithic. So that means, that's good. That means that one of our recent migrants, probably the ones who brought the threshers technology, they came from an area that had the Neolithic culture. And so I think the more migrants we get with Neolithic culture, the bigger this portion of the circle will be green, and then eventually when it's halfway or more, we will be in the Neolithic age, and then we can farm, which will be amazing, and get livestock, I hope, too. So okay, I know there's a lot of talking and setup, but I want to explain the mechanics of the game, and I want to make sure we get the startup right, because I have not migrated with this many people before. Normally when you start a new game, you would start with 15 to 30 tribes people, but we have 35. So it's a pretty big group. And we have some children, not many. We have one pregnant woman, about a third elderly. They're happy. It's a beginner game. We're playing in beginner mode. The people are happy. We have problems to solve. These are probably problems that existed in the last game. the last location, so these will get updated as soon as I unpause the game. And before I do that, is there anything else I need to place down? I don't want to put, I know that you can overwhelm your people if you put too many building assignments on them and tasks in general, so I don't want to overwhelm them. I do want to build some religious thingies, some offerings, because they do help with morale, and since we're going to be short on housing, we're going to need morale boosters. So we're going to place some of these around the village perimeters. Maybe one here. That's a Neolithic offering, I think, or a Mesolithic offering. And then we also have Neolithic offerings for our Neolithic. Oh, that was a Neolithic offering that I just placed down. We can also build these old-fashioned Mesolithic offerings, which I had a lot of these in my old village. But now we have to make room for the new religion of farming, the farming religion. So we will have a Mesolithic offering and a Neolithic offering. We're also going to put down a grave right off the bat, because your people get unhappy if they don't have places to bury their loved ones. And we do have a lot of old people in our village, and we just finished a migration. So it would not surprise me if we ended up having a few deaths. So I'm just going to put some graves out here in the fields, in the woods. Maybe 4 graves. Not to be morbid, but you got to be prepared in the prehistoric times. And we can build, this is a new technology that we got with one of our recent migrants, is a menhir. These are the old menhir obelisk type standing stones, like Stonehenge. They had a lot of these around Stonehenge, and very common all throughout the prehistoric world. So we will eventually build those, but I'm not going to build those right now, because I'm sure if you played Dawn of Man, you know that building one of these menhirs is a massive task. It takes a ton of labor. You often end up starving while you're trying to build them. At least I did when I was playing. We're going to put down some storage too, because you don't need to have storage. Your people will collect things that are needed and that are in the collection queue, and they'll just plop them around the village if you don't have a designated storage space for them. But if you want to encourage them to work harder on collecting a resource, you can create a storage space, and we'll just put it right here. You just trace it out like so, and then you get a big storage space, and you can change the priority on these storage spaces so that your people will prioritize collecting those resources over others. At least that's how I think it works. I've kind of just been winging it, but I think that if you set the priority on these storage things too high or very high, then your people will fill them up faster. Could be affirmation bias. So this really big one, I'm going to put probably sticks, because they're so important. Or maybe straw. There is a haystack thing that you can build, but I think it requires materials that we don't have. So yeah, I think I'll put sticks here, because it's right by the fireplaces. And this one I will put plant fiber, very important. And straw I will put here, just until we get the haystack built. Great thing about storage spaces is there's no building time to them. You just set them and then they're there. So there, we got some oddly shaped storage spaces here. And we'll add some food storage spaces as well to promote the collection of certain food groups. Food does spoil. All of your materials spoil the longer that they sit in storage or sit out in the open. So you can mitigate how fast they rot by building baskets, these things. But these baskets require rope, and they require plant fiber, which we also need for rope. So we're not going to build those. We're going to build pits. Pits are large holes that you dig in the ground, and they're good for vegetables and other such things. I was using a lot of these for storing nuts, and it seemed to do the trick. It seemed to prolong the life of the nut in my store. So you're supposed to build these on low ground, but all of the ground here is pretty low. Maybe right here. There are 3 pits for storing food. And I don't think I'm going to designate these yet. Well, I will designate for fish. Oh, I can't designate them until they're built. Right, okay. The reason why I don't want to set storage for food yet is because I really don't know what food is going to be plentiful here. I know we're going to have a lot of clams, because I have played a couple of coastal games when I was just starting out last week, and clams were very easy to get. So I'm expecting we're going to have a lot of clams. And we'll have a lot of fish. And I don't know if we'll have a lot of meat. I don't know what types of vegetables grow here. I can see some grain. When I was zooming over, I could see some grain. So I think we have grain, which is good. Wheat grain. And I haven't seen rose hips. So that's too bad. Rose hips are a very easy food source if you have them, but I don't see them here. So I guess they don't have them in Marseille. So yeah, I'm not going to designate the food storage yet because I really don't know what food is going to be easiest to get. So I will let my people collect food in general, and then after we collect a bit, we can see which ones are the most plentiful, and then create some storage zones for those. So that's what we'll do. So is there anything else I need to do before I unpause this game? I don't think so. I think we got some houses down. Oh, I should set the priority for these fireplaces to be very, very high, because they need to be done first. First, before anything. Let our people warm their toes and their fingers so that they can use those fingers to collect things that I need. So that's what we'll do. And it's just the crack of morning, so we should have enough time before night to get these built. They don't work in the night, the people. It's very realistic, which I like. Dawn of Man had that too, where once it's nighttime, the people just kind of conk out. And that is how it was. People did not stay awake forever. So I like that. But you have to plan around that. So you have to plan if you need these built before people go to bed so that they have a place to sleep that's warm. You got to get those done first. So that's what we're going to do. We'll prioritize the fireplaces. And ooh, is that a skeleton? I hope that's not a bad sign that there aren't a lot of animals here. Oh well. This has to work. I'd be really sad if I can't make this area work, because there is no river, and I've been reading that without a river. Even if you're on the coast, it can be pretty challenging for the Mesolithic, but we're far advanced in the Mesolithic, and we have things like food dryers. Ooh, I should plop down a food dryer because that will be important. We have enough technology, I think, that it's not going to be so hard not having the river. I'm really worried about reeds because reeds, I think, only grow on the river, and if we can't get reeds, it's not the end of the world, but there are certain types of housing, like there are reed huts that you can build, so we won't be able to build those if we can't access reeds in this game. And I think there's also things like reed mats, which can help with happiness and comfort and all of that kind of stuff. So we may just have to go it without reeds and just not build anything that requires reeds, unless of course we can trade it with one of the other tribes, or we can raid for it. But if we cannot get reeds in this riverless land, then we'll have to make some plans around that. But I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, because if you look at the cost involved in the reed hut, it takes a lot of materials versus the straw hut, which takes a lot of straw but does not take a lot of anything else, and it just takes basic sticks. This one takes the same amount of sticks but also stone, same amount of rope, and less reed than straw actually, but straw, you can collect 500 straw very easily. Reeds, on the other hand, they take a long time to collect and they rot very quickly. So you have to constantly collect them. And even when I was living on the river, I was not getting a lot of reeds. So I think it's just not worth it to go with reeds. Should we put down a couple of tents? Probably. Especially since this whole area is kind of a temporary area. We're going to remake these things eventually. Yeah, we'll put a tent over here. Like so. Couple of tents and maybe another fireplace for the tents. Where are the entrances for these tents? Over here, I think. So yeah, there we go. I don't think there's anything else we have to do. So let's start moving, shall we? We'll go on just a normal pace for now. I just love how realistic this is. And I've looked at a few different spots in the UK and Brittany region of France and little islands. Dumbarton Rock, you can actually like zoom in on Dumbarton Rock in Scotland and it looks pretty close to accurate. So this game has so much potential for replaying. I think I'm going to replay this game a ton because I really love historically accurate city builders, and I love being able to play on a map that actually exists and try to recreate, you know, the towns that are here today. There, we got an autosave. That's good, because we're probably going to mess up at some point. I'm not against restarting if I fuck up enormously. There come my people. They are coming over. They're like, why are we walking all this way? Ooh, there's still a lot of people not doing anything though. Why is that? Oh, they're doing stuff. Look at that. They're all gathering. Look at all these skeletons. Why are there so many skeletons? And here are all the resources. So they're going to have to pick up all of these resources and carry them over to this new temporary settlement. I probably should have just set up over here, but I would be so far away from the coast, and proximity is everything. So I think it's a good idea that we're moving out. So yeah, I guess we can speed it up, because especially in the early time, while we're getting set up, there isn't going to be a lot to kind of do. So we'll get going, and hopefully they can build that relatively quickly. I wish they had the that little trumpet that they have in Dawn of Man, where you can make your people work a little bit harder for a short period of time. Was that in Dawn of Man? Or no, that was in Life is Feudal, wasn't it? Man, I'm confusing all of the city builders. Life is Feudal was probably the first city builder that I played that was a game that I could replay over and over and over again, because I just loved the terrain. The terrain in Life in Feudal was really good, and I loved the raids with the Viking raiders. I thought that was really good. There were a lot of good elements in that game, and I think this game is trying to be like that, because they've got economy metrics, and they've got trading and raiding and interactive bits and the building bits. But that's what I like in a game, is when you can do all of those things, when it's not just about building, but it's also about economy management and grand scale strategy. Those kinds of things I really like. So look at all these people, 35 villagers working hard. You can see they're creating an organic path. The pathing feature in this game works very well. We've got our fireplaces up, which is really good. 2 of them up anyway. The big fireplace is still not up, but that's okay. We should prioritize these houses. Forgot to do that. And we'll prioritize the tents as well. I wish you could double click on these and it would, all of them would highlight. But you can also go to the building panel over here and very quickly click on them that way. The people are cool. It's a very they have very realistic features. I like them. This one is not wearing much clothing. That's okay. We're in the Riviera and it's summer. We should be naked. I think if you click on them, double click on their face, then you can their camera will follow them, which I like doing. Oh, but then if you move your mouse, then it's over. Here we go. Follow, follow, follow. Hello, who are you? Rona. Rona is putting down her biface. Why are you doing that, Rona? Do we have people assigned to hunting yet? Why is nobody hunting? Let's get some hunting going. Oh yeah? Oh, look at this. They're sitting on a bench. Well, they're talking to each other, but they're not really facing each other. I think this was, they haven't discovered yet the art of face-to-face conversation. That is definitely a Neolithic thing. Ooh, it's night. It is night in Marseille or Marseille. If you can tell me how to pronounce the city, that would be good. Well, should we call it Marseille, or should we call it what the Greeks called it, which was Massalia or Masala, something like that. Look, this is coming up very quickly. I'm glad that we gathered so many sticks and fine sticks. Oh, look, and we have rope now. So we are getting plant fiber. That's good. And it's instantly being converted into rope because my people are experienced rope makers. And look, we're getting our straw up quickly too. This is really good. And our hazelnuts are staying up there. Trying to keep the hazelnuts up as long as we can because I don't think we're going to be able to find new hazelnuts, so the people need to spare those hazelnuts as much as they can. Replace them with clams. I haven't seen any clams come in. The UI, the interface is not bad. It's not great. I'm hoping that there's a mod that will make it a lot better. But like I would like it if everything was here at the bottom. Down like this. Well, I guess I can just move it to the bottom. But it's good to have your storage. Oh, I can do that. That's good. Yeah. So I can see these beautiful landscapes. Look how beautiful this is. The morning has come. I love the look of this game. And you can tell that like this is the early days after the ice age, when everything, the terrain is relatively new. You got these big massive rocks and boulders here. Oh, so I was looking at Greek Marseille, and they had this really cool amphitheater in the city right around, if this is the island, this island actually exists in real life, but it's a lot bigger and it's a lot further away from the coast in the modern time. But this island exists, and then just opposite this island you have this beachy area here, which again was an actual area in Marseille. And up from that was an amphitheater, and the amphitheater was a natural like semi-canyon that was just kind of carved into the landscape here. And we happen to have this big boulder here. And this boulder does not exist in all of the loads of this area because I migrated to this settlement a few times and kind of tested out the landscape, and it did not have this big boulder here, but this one does have the boulder here, and I think that is going to be like a makeshift amphitheater for this city of Masala or Massalia or Marseille or Marseille, however you wish to say it. But yes, it'll be like a little amphitheater zone, and we can like dress it up with some menhirs and some offerings, make it pretty. Oh, we're gonna have to move these graves though, because the graves are right in the audience section, so they will have to move. That's okay. Not right now. Ooh, we can let a few bodies build up in this area, and then the theater will be haunted, and then it'll add some depth to the story of this settlement. The haunted theater, the phantom of the opera, once they invent opera, of course. They're building their graves. Oh yes, prepare for our deaths. Lovely day in Marseille. Who will be the first to sleep here? Alright, that's too sad. What are these people doing over here? Ooh, you're building your pits for the food. That is good. A lot like digging a grave, isn't it? And he's got straw. That's good. Bring that straw over. It looks like our food dryer is coming along nicely. And our pelt dryer's over here, coming along very nicely. And our offerings being slow to come along, but that's okay. We have someone fishing. Hello, fisherman. Look at you. What do you think? Ooh, you have a fish in your hand. And fishies all around. Lots of ocean fish. See, these people are not used to ocean fish. We are a river people. And so we've moved to the ocean. Big water. Is this a whole herd of... Oh my goodness. We haven't seen boar. We hunted the boar to death early on in this game. When by early on I mean like 2,000 years ago. And so to see a boar, a whole herd of boar coming across like this, that is just so cool. And what are they being chased by? Oh, that's a baby boar. Oh. Hello, baby boar. I don't think I've seen baby boars before. I didn't really pay attention to the animals in the last, in my earlier playthrough with this tribe, to be honest. But they do have little babies. And we're going to domesticate those babies, just like we did in Dawn of Man. And we're going to become a sedentary people, just like the Greeks who settled here. But this time, when the Greeks come to colonize this area, they're going to discover that it's already occupado. It'd be cool if in this game you actually do get like invasions by the Greeks and the Phoenicians and the Egyptians, the early civilizations. I don't think it would be cool if you could join those civilizations, but I think being raided by them would be an interesting addition to the game. I might actually settle eventually over this way more, because I think this is where the actual early settlement of Marseille was, right along where this bay was, where this bay will eventually be, I should say, right here. I think this whole region was the key area for the early settlers. But it started out with like, I think it had 6,000 people in the early years, and then it ended up during the Roman times having 60,000. So a dryer is ready to use. That's good. And if we double click on it, we can quickly migrate over. And I'm not going to prioritize attention to the dryer because right now I want everyone building, and we have enough food in reserve. Look, we're getting fish already. We're getting some, what is this? Root. We're getting roots. No clams yet. I want to see clams. I want these people to dig clams. See, they don't know clams. They probably have seen some clams, but they're like, what are those things? They look slimy. A Pelt Tanners ready to use. I don't think I'm going to prioritize that either. What are these things? Oh, these are beehives. Yeah, you can collect honey in this game, which is cool. And then eventually there is a technology that you can unlock where you can, you know, create beehives. Move them closer to the city. And honey, your people, see, certain foods give your people extra happiness bonuses. And so you want to be collecting those foods that your people want to eat as much as possible. But Nobody ever wants to eat hazelnuts, and yet this tribe has thrived on hazelnuts up to this point. So they don't complain about bad food, but they get happiness bonuses if you have good food. And we want bonuses. Now, of course, this is on beginner difficulty, so I'm sure that in hardcore difficulty it would be a lot different. And eventually I'm going to get to hardcore, but this is my first real playthrough. Like, I played a couple of hours of other scenarios, but this tribe has been my main tribe, and I've learned most of the game through trial and error with this tribe. And a few others, which we will not talk about. But yeah, I do want to do a lot of playthroughs of this game, hopefully recording them, depending on whether people like this stream. And I want to pick different cities that have actually existed in antiquity. So looking at, you know, different settlements. This is one of the only settlements that I can create now, because the current map, we don't cover a lot of the classical areas. We don't have Mesopotamia, we don't have Egypt, we don't have Greece, Rome. You can only, right now the developers have only enabled you to play in Western Europe. So other than Marseille, there are not a lot of cities or settlements that have been continuously inhabited to the present time that you can play on these maps. But Marseille is one of them, if not the only one of them that you can play right now. So I'm doing it. And then eventually I want to play, well, I definitely want to play somewhere in Scotland and Scandinavia, because I've looked at some of the landscapes there, and the fjords, and the attention to detail again is just so incredible that I can't wait until North America is enabled. I hope North America is going to be enabled, because I want to play in my hometown, my backyard. I want to see the landscapes, see how close to accurate they were, and see what, you know, assuming that they're close to accurate, see what those areas would have looked like 10,000 years ago. Because these devs, I know, I've read enough about their roadmap to know that they're really putting an effort into making this as realistic and as much of a simulation as possible. And they've done their research on technology, on the evolution of Mesolithic and Neolithic societies. They've looked at the archaeology, and they've really paid attention to that aspect of it, which I think helps this game stand out, despite all the negative reviews and flaws in the early release. But I mean, just look at that beautiful sunset. Look at that. Look at that. That is incredible. Like, we need to get a screenshot. Pause this. Like, that should be the screenshot for this live stream. Can I make this go away? I'm not used to all these tools for live streaming, so I'm going to try to screenshot this. I don't know if it's going to work. I hope that worked. But isn't that just gorgeous? I want to save that because it's just so pretty. You know, maybe this is a good place to stop this stream, because I have been talking for a long time, and I think you're not supposed to talk for too long before moving on to the next episode. So I think I will stop it here, and we can resume this. I will stop the recording, and I will stop the playing, and we can resume this on the next episode. But thank you for tuning in to my very first live stream, or recording, or whatever you call these things. I hope that you stick around for the next episode, and I hope that you learned something by watching me about the mechanics of this game, and maybe if you were not going to buy this game because of the earlier negative reviews that you heard, I hope that this game inspires you to think again, because that is just so pretty. That is just such a pretty sunset over the actual harbor of Marseille. 5,000 years before the Greeks colonized it. Our little tribe, the Marseille people, led by a 71-year-old Sunni, or Sunny, they are just giving it a go on these beautiful shores. So join me again. Thank you for tuning in.